Hi friends, it's me, Miss P. Now, we have a new artist to talk about for Black History Month. This week, we're going to talk about Jean-Michel Basquiat. Jean-Michel Basquiat was a Haitian Puerto Rican artist who was working mostly in the 80s. He had a short career, but he made a ton of work. And he had a lot of success at a very young age. For example, at 22, he was the youngest ever to display his work at the Whitney Biennial. He was 22. Now, that might seem old to you, but that's very, very young to achieve that kind of accomplishment. He had some notoriety and fame early on in life. Now, his paintings, the reason I want to show them to you is because there's something really exciting about them. They have these sort of rough lines. You could even call them childish. There's sort of like doodly elements to them. He uses a lot of patterns, a lot of big blotches of color in the background of his work. And his work was about differences between things. Like you could call this a dichotomy, where there are two things and they're separate and he just wants to compare the two. You could also call this juxtaposition. Big words, but we're still getting to our overall point. So he made work about the difference between wealth and poverty and segregation and integration and sort of his experience with racism in the 1980s as an artist, sort of in this whole world, this high world of art. But he made tons of work, and now it sells for millions of dollars. So let's get to what we're actually talking about with Jean-Michel Basquiat. We are going to be making a little drawing very similar to some of his paintings. Now you can see up here that I have a little crown, and that's because this was a reoccurring theme in Basquiat's paintings. So we are going to do this crown. We also have a little dinosaur here because I think dinosaurs are cool, and Basquiat has a dinosaur painting that's very famous. So I thought I'd show you how to draw this dinosaur yourself. Now let's see. What did I use for this? All I really used was a piece of paper and some markers. So that's all you would really need to do to use as well. If you don't have markers, you can use something else. You could use watercolors, you could use colored pencils, or crayons. Now, there are a couple things that I want you to do for this. I want you to add some patterns in the background. And just a reminder, patterns are repeating shapes or colors. So I want you to use patterns in the background. You can see I wrote the word dino here. I would like you to include one word in the background of your art. Just try to do one word. It could even be your name, or it could just be dino. And I would like you to do a crown on the dino's head. Now that's really all I want from you. So let's get started.
All right, friends, I'm starting out by drawing the head of my dino. It's a little bit hard to see here, but I'm going to do it again in Sharpie, and it'll become a little clearer. So I did a zigzag for the dino's teeth, and then I drew sort of a long oval underneath it and two ovals for the eyes. Now I'm drawing the legs of the dino, very basic, and I'm going to give one some claws and one no claws, because that's kind of how it looks in Basquiat's drawing. And then I'm putting that tail right at the end there and adding some just little blob hands and a crown. Simple, easy. And then of course another zigzag line for our nice little set of spikes on the back of our dino. Now here we go, I'm going to take a Sharpie and trace this out. So I'm doing these sort of long lines, and I'm including the arms I didn't draw before in my drawing, just going over the whole thing in Sharpie. If you don't have a Sharpie, you could do this with a black colored pencil or a black crayon, or a ballpoint pen, any pen really, and just make it look a little bit more clear. The dino is really the focus of our drawing, so I like to do the Sharpie just to make it a little bit more focused. Here I go with the crown again, and now I'm going to add some stuff to the background. Oh, of course I forgot to mention that I'm going to spend some time erasing all those pencil lines just so I can make my dino nice and neat. But that's just a side thing. I always like to point that out, it helps. So now I'm grabbing some other Sharpies and just some markers that I have around, and I'm going to draw some like sort of lines inside the dino that kind of match up with the dino. And this is something that Basquiat does. In his drawings, he sort of draws lines around the shape, sort of outline kind of thing. Some lines in the background. They don't have to be super straight. Adding the word dino in there. And I'm going to draw some arrows. You could do this too. It's just a basic shape. And some little circles. Really whatever sort of shapes that come to mind. You could draw hearts, squares, circles, circles inside circles, arrows, zigzag lines, curvy lines, wavy lines. Now I'm going ahead and I'm coloring my dino green. I'm going to color around those purple outlines that I did so they show up nice and neat around the green that I'm putting in there. And if you're not a big fan of coloring in the lines, this is the opportunity to color outside the lines. There's not really many rules in this project because Basquiat kind of just went with the flow of the painting and they end up looking really beautiful. So if you don't want to color in the lines, you don't have to. You can draw whatever doodles you like in the background and just go with it. Adding some eyes here. I know a lot of you are learning about new shapes right now, so if you want to draw a trapezoid, circles, triangles, hexagons, any shapes, you could draw three-dimensional shapes, anything goes here. No specific colors are better than others, just whatever you want to do. I'm making an effort to use a lot of different colors here. I would suggest you do the same. Just spices up your drawing a little bit to add lots of different colors. And I'm really trying to fill up that whole space, all the little parts around the dino. I kind of want them filled with all sorts of shapes and colors. You can see how I just took a color and I'm just sort of coloring over some of the other stuff I did with a different lighter color. You can try this if you like, you don't have to, but there are a lot of blocks of color in Basquiat's painting, so if you want to try that, I suggest it. I'm getting to my final details here, and I'm thinking I'm just about done. I filled up my whole paper with different shapes and colors, and the more I do, I feel like the better it looks. So, thank you for watching this video all the way through, guys. I can't wait to see what you come up with for your own dinos, and I will see you all soon. Bye-bye.